that I was having some mic issues, but that's okay. So, on today's broadcast, we're going to discuss, do Black Americans deserve reparations for slavery? Do Black Americans deserve reparations for slavery? Am I coming in clear? Am I coming in clear, you guys? 1 second. Okay, I'm coming in clear. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over Williams Darrity's. I'm going to summarize his book. I'm going to play a video of him talking directly, and then we're going to get into the conversation. And the question I want you to keep in mind is, do Black Americans deserve reparations for slavery? Yes or no? In the comments, if you disagree, I don't mind you writing why you disagree. Um, I don't mind even if some people get into some troll activities. However, this is a conversation that can be deemed as controversial. And my name is Brian. I'm your host. And welcome to official TMP Ways Media. If you're not subscribed, you can do that. I have really good content. And on this broadcast, we're talking about, do Black Americans deserve reparations for slavery? That's either a yes or a no question. But you can expound on why you think they should, or why you think Black Americans should not receive reparations. And honestly, I'm more concerned on why people would argue that Black Americans do not deserve reparations, because I think that side of the table is valid and we should hear why. But with no further ado.
The three pillars of reparations that are relevant to Black American descendants of persons who were enslaved in the United States are the following. The first pillar is the horrors of slavery in and of itself. The second pillar is nearly a century of legal segregation in the United States, what we refer to as the Jim Crow period, which had an associated wave of white terror campaigns that took place during that phase in time. And then the third pillar is associated with the period in the nation's history after the passage of the Civil Rights Acts of the 1960s, and a sustained period of atrocities that continue to the present moment, which include mass incarceration in the United States, incarceration of such a magnitude that if we look at Black males separately, Black males have a higher incarceration rate and a higher total number of incarcerees than all of the women who are incarcerated across the entire planet. In addition, we have a recent wave of police killings of unarmed Blacks, and we also have a sustained pattern of credit and employment discrimination. And then, from my perspective as an economist, perhaps the most significant indicator of the inequality that besets American society between Blacks and whites, the enormous racial wealth gap. And I'd like to emphasize that if we were to look at the numbers, the share of wealth that is held by Black Americans in the United States is approximately 2.6% of the nation's total wealth. The nation's total wealth runs in the vicinity of $100 to $110 billion.
Okay, guys. So that was William Darity, and he was discussing why Black Americans deserve reparations and what reparations would do and aim to fix. Okay, I'm glad that you're with me today. I'm going to do about a 20-minute uh, broadcast where I expand on what he was discussing. So, one, he talks about in the book, and if you don't have the book, the name of the book is From Here to Equality: Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. second edition. Okay. And is actually his co-author is A. Kristen Mullen. Okay. And so this isn't just anyone speaking, guys. William Darity is also a professor at Duke University, guys. So this is somebody who is well educated, right? And so I want to discuss what he discussed as a economist and a historian in his book. So number one is moral framework. A reparations program must acknowledge the wrongs, official apologies and recognition, redress, provide concrete compensation, and discuss what may be controversial to some, including direct payments to the victims and descendants of those who were enslaved. Offer closure, which is really important, guys, that reparations will offer closure to millions of Americans and would also help to keep America whole as a nation, guys. A house divided cannot stand. Right now, people are so polarized on so many different issues that Black Americans receiving reparations would actually keep the country together because Black Americans are going to use the money in the American economy. Black Americans are going to use the money in the American economy. So it's going to offer closure, a mutual understanding that the debt has been repaid while still preserving historical memory. And so this is going to do a great deal great again because the country and the people that make up the country, the government, the people who make up the government will be able to say, yes, slavery was a horrible original sin of our nation and it's how we built our wealth. Yet we owned up to what we did wrong and we repaid the the sentence of those who were enslaved, and now we can move forward as a nation. Historical injustice beyond slavery. Reparations aren't limited to slavery. They encompass the failure to fulfill 40 acres and a mule, Jim Crow laws, structural segregation, massacres such as Wilmington 1898, Tulsa 1921, and ironically, the survivors of the Tulsa 1921 massacre where United States government dropped a bomb on American soil in Tulsa. The survivors were recently denied compensation for the wrongs that they experienced, guys. So some people will argue, well, it was so long ago. The people that did that are not even alive today. Tulsa, the survivors were denied compensation. Elderly people that experience horrors. But we are going to stick with the numbers. I think that numbers are really good because the numbers will help us get to where we need to be. Okay, so let's talk numbers. Redlining, predatory lending, highway construction through Black neighborhoods. I repeat, redlining, predatory lending, highway construction through Black neighborhoods. Guys, a lot of wealthy, middle class Black neighborhoods were destroyed because highway constructions went through their neighborhoods in Miami, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Detroit, New York. So many Black neighborhoods were completely destroyed. The wealth there was completely destroyed because of intimate domain, ongoing discrimination in housing, education, and criminal justice. Therefore, the target should be to eliminate the racial wealth gap. The aim is to completely close the wealth gap. Why? Black Americans hold only 2% of the national, 13% of the population that we are. And this is directly tied to our enslavement. The average white household wealth exceeds Black households by 840,000. Reparation payments would aim to equalize this gap, totaling an estimated 10 to 12 trillion over 10 years. The author, William Darity, they discuss in the book, him and Kristen Mullen, that it should be a two-pronged eligibility test. One is not race-based, is lineage-based. So one must have at least one enslaved ancestor in the US. Two, identity, lineage and identity. Identity, self-identified as Black, African American, Negro for at least 10 to 12 years prior to this reparation enactment. And I'm going to, excuse me, guys, I had to take a break for a second. So, programs designed as direct payments are crucial. Pay, uh, Program designed as direct payments are crucial, while structural investments such as education, entrepreneurship, HBCUs are included. Direct payments are crucial and essential to close the wealth gap. Why? Because people don't want to have third party organizations overseeing their money. Just pay the people directly who are infected. The author argues that it should be 250,000 to 350,000 per eligible person. And this is a federal responsibility, small local efforts. Only the federal government is deemed responsible because it created and maintained the system of injustice. State or local programs are insufficient. Only the federal government is deemed responsible because it created and maintained the system of injustice. State or local programs are insufficient. And in closing, responses to objections is that this is something that is owed to Black Americans. This is not a handout. And concerns like cost, who qualifies, or inflations are mere deflections because comparable federal investments show such spending is feasible, such as Social Security, pandemic relief. A lot of times, some people will say when they object to do Black Americans deserve reparations, many will argue inflation is going to ruin the country, going to be spent in the nation. Who qualifies? We can get to that with lineage and identity. Records were kept on the people who were enslaved. Records were kept on the people who were enslaved. So finding out who was enslaved in America is not a problem. Cost is really not going to be an issue, guys, because this is going to actually benefit the United States economy. Think about the millions of dollars that's spent to subjugate Black Americans on uh, technology in the prisons. Think about how much taxpayers are forced to pay to maintain a system of injustice. Instead of maintaining a system of injustice and using the framework that in capitalism we must have an underbelly and blacks are the bottom of the caste system, just do the right things by Black Americans and the country will be great. Asking the government to help us build a portfolio and not just checks. While direct payments anchor the program, it also includes targeted investments in education. We need education, guys. The education system, as we now know with the internet and seeing what other nations are doing, like China, by not educating Black Americans, think about how this is holding us back. Healthcare. By not investing in healthcare, think about how this is going to hurt us in the long run. Entrepreneurship, guys, is great minds that come out of our community, guys. Every community has very intelligent people, but our entrepreneurship, we can't even do certain things because we don't have the money to invest in our ideas that would make America great again. Asset building to support long-term community resilience. Guys, I believe black Americans, with the right investments and a system to support us, we would make America amazing. Why? We already did. Look what we did while under Jim Crow, systemic racism, slavery. Look what America became while we were under extreme subjugation with some help. And he talks about acknowledgement, redress, monetary and structural, and closure. Guys, this is the way that we can end these conversations with closure by providing reparations to black Americans that will give millions. It's about 43 million black Americans here who are the descendants of those who were enslaved. The problem is the United States government didn't pay the original people who were enslaved. So now the interest on that has grown to 10 to 12 trillion dollars, and the problem still exists. Guys, we have to solve this problem now before it gets too outrageous, and it's just going to become a problem that's unsolvable, and the country is going to suffer, guys. And look around. The country is already suffering from not doing the right thing. Now let's look at this through a historical scope. Like I stated, this is for slavery, Jim Crow, systemic racism. The target is to eliminate the $840,000 wealth gap between whites who were not enslaved and blacks who were enslaved. And the estimate of this is 10 to 12 trillion. The eligibility is descendant of an enslaved person, ancestor, and you must have a black identity going back 10 to 12 years, guys. So you have to had already been identifying as black. Structure, federal program with direct payments and systemic investment. And this is going to make America great again, guys. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that this is going to come into fruition. And it's going to happen, guys. I hope that you know this, that Darrente's case rests on the idea that only a well-designed, federally administered reparations program combining direct payments, structural investments, and official recognition can fully repair the material and moral harms of centuries of racial injustice in the U.S. Now, I would like to hear what you guys think on this. This is my point of view. Do black Americans deserve reparations? I would say yes. Reparations. I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Drop your opinion on this. On my other video, a lot of people discussed it. Some people were really upset, but I would challenge anyone who directly oppose it to provide a factual, logical argument as to why black Americans do not deserve reparations for slavery. In reality, it's harder to argue why black Americans do not deserve reparations for slavery rather than it is to argue why black Americans do deserve reparations. The only way to argue that black Americans do not deserve reparations for slavery is to, one, just flat out not provide any concrete arguments or suggestions, because there's so much evidence and proof that we already pay billions of dollars to subjugate black Americans, and that it's feasible because we've seen with the pandemic relief and through Social Security that 13% of the population can receive a one-time payment, or payments over a set number of 10 years. Lastly, Black Americans have paid the greatest debt owed to the nation, which is our time and energy. We have given the United States our time and energy. We have helped mold this nation, and we love this nation. And what we're asking the citizens of this nation is to stand with us and to help us. We need your help. If you are a member of the dominant society, the majority, have this conversation at the kitchen dinner table. Uh, if you support it, advocate for us. This conversation is really not just for Black Americans. This conversation is really for white Americans who are the dominant number in the nation. So I'm talking directly to you. Do Black Americans slavery? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. Thank you. Peace.